that.
I was about to say $10,000, Tasha. What are you spending on?
No, I mean 10,000 points is definitely not $10,000.
Yeah. So it's weird. Yeah. The points. You mentioned 10,000, and the points do show like this huge amount, and then they transfer. You convert them into actual U.S. dollars, and not just U.S. dollars, but it's U.S. dollars at some storefront or some other thing, right? Like a gift card or airline miles, and
it's like 1 cent per point,
cent, yeah.
something like that.
So it's like you see this huge number, like 200,000. You're like, whoa, that's a whole lot, but it's actually not, right?
Let's make green together. Let's make green together. Let's make green together. Let's make green together.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Black and Brown Make Green. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Damien.
And recently, one of my friends, Maggie Clockengay from Make a Money Mind Shift, reached out to me and she was asking, do you guys still use Monarch Money? Because on one podcast, sometime about a year ago, we were raving about this budgeting app, Monarch Money. And so she wanted to know, did we really like it still? And I thought it'd be cool to talk about not just do we still like Monarch Money, but talk about all the different credit cards, bank accounts, financial tools we've been using over the last year, and if we still like them or if we don't like them and why or why not.
Yeah.
So kind of like a peek behind the scenes as to what tools and accounts we're using and why.
Yeah, I like this idea because it changes, right? You fall in love and you fall out of love with these things sometimes, and sometimes you maintain it.
It definitely changes, and there's definitely some changes that have happened in the last year. So I think let's start with Monarch Money, because that was the question that she was asking me. What do we think about Monarch Money today? And just to give a little quick recap, Monarch Money is an application that can help you create a budget and track your expenses over time, over a month or, on a daily basis. And we have previously used Mint for that and Personal Capital, but they are not necessarily the best when it comes to the budgeting portion. I don't find it as easy to navigate those two. And so we were searching for a new one and ended on Monarch Money.
Yeah, and they're not one-to-one either. They're not completely functionally equivalent. I think Monarch Money has gotten the closest to what we want out of our application, out of our tool that we use. But it's not 100%, but it's still really good, I think.
No, it's a good tool, but it's definitely not perfect, and it's not something that I absolutely love. I do like the app. Yeah. I would say I think the way that YNAB works, which is You Need a Budget app, where it shows you what you have left to spend, is really the kind of app that I would like to see when it comes to budgeting. But the issue with YNAB is that the transactions aren't pulled in automatically, and there's a lot of manual stuff that has to be done in YNAB, and I don't want to do that. I've said this many times before. I want my transactions to come through automatically. I want to be able to set up some rules so that it can be categorized automatically. And Monarch Money allows me to do that really easily, or for us to do that rather. Mm-hmm. And so I really love that about Monarch Money, the ability to really create your own categories and have flexible rules set up to be able to track your spending in that way. And so that's something that I really like about Monarch Money.
So I agree with you with all those points. But let's say that Monarch Money didn't exist and you're looking for a tool. What are some alternatives? Just real quick, just spat them out.
Some alternatives. There's Simplify by Quicken, which is another one that I've tried. There's Rocket Money.
Yeah.
There is Mint and Personal Capital, which are some of the free ones. Rocket Money and Simplify are both paid ones. I just read about one earlier today called DAS Money, DAS Money, mm-hmm. or no, DAS Budget, DAS Budget. And that one looked pretty interesting to me. There's Pocket Guard. There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
I mean, even honestly now, inside of our bank account, they have one inside of the bank account where you can track your spending in there.
And also one of our credit cards has the same tool.
Yeah. Do you know which credit card that is?
I think it's Chase now.
Yeah, I have seen that. So Chase has it in there. A lot of companies are building it into their software. So there's a lot of options for trying to track your expenses.
Another option that you didn't mention is just manually with a spreadsheet.
Or a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Write it down.
And I wanted to to look at kind of the landscape and the options and go through them and say, we're looking for something with these characteristics. If somebody else is looking for something with these characteristics, then we wouldn't recommend, some of the things that we do, because a lot of it does take, a keen eye to spot, mismatch or an error in the synchronization between the data, right? Because the apps are effectively taking data from a bank, but they're going through a middleman, and that process is often flaky, right? Like it can mess up along the way.
Yeah,
and it does. And when you do, when you're expecting it to work 100%, you do have to keep an eye on it, because you'll spot discrepancies, and you have to kind of backtrack where those were introduced, right?
Yeah, one of the issues we had with Monarch Money when we were using the American Express card was that the connection between American Express and Monarch Money would often drop. So we wouldn't actually be able to see the transactions from American Express. And that's just kind of an issue that you see with software. Yeah. And banks not necessarily playing nice with some of the different software. American Express is kind of notorious for it. Mm-hmm. But you'll notice that as an issue across some of all of the different apps out there that are trying to help you track your transactions.
Yeah, it's like these fintech companies are trying to move very quickly, and banks aren't enabling that speed, that velocity. And the middlemen, the companies like Plaid that are trying to stitch that data together and expose it to apps so that the apps can digest it and show it to a user in a meaningful way. Like, that process is difficult. It's really difficult. And as a user of one of these tools, you just have to be very mindful and diligent about, ensuring that you did get the data in, but you need to know that it is correct, and you need to sometimes figure it out.
I think it's really understanding what is the purpose of you using that tool.
Yeah.
Like, my purpose for Monarch Money is really tracking my expenses, trying to stay within my budget.
Yeah.
For some people, they may be trying to track their net worth, and there may be another tool that may be better for that. Or they may be trying to do something else with their money. So it's really finding the tool that will work best for your situation. And for me, Monarch Money still works well for my situation, but primarily because I use it as a tool when I'm working with people one-on-one to help them create their own budgets.
Yeah.
And it's an easy way for us to collaborate together on their money and their spending and seeing their spending habits.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just one tool. Like,
yeah.
It's not the only tool out there, and it's definitely not perfect. Like, right. I'm still shopping around, I would say, trying to find that perfect tool for me.
Yeah,
but it's still useful, I would say.
So to answer Maggie's question, would you recommend it?
Would I recommend it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool. I think once you get in there, you play around with it, recognize the shortcomings of it, then it can still be used really great for the purpose of tracking your expenses. I think it's a great tool for that. And so, yeah, I would still recommend it.
Yeah, Natasha's all up in their ear, the support team's ear, so they're pretty responsive. They're very
they're pretty responsive. They're trying to make changes and listening to feedback.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just reached out last week 2 times in the same day and got responses several times from them throughout that same day. So I mean, they're really responsive if you do have an issue, trying to help you solve it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
okay,
and
enough about Monarch Money, because we talked about them enough in that last episode, and I'm sick of talking about Monarch Money.
Okay.
So let's talk about some of the different credit cards that we use, because that's the budgeting app. We also use some other budgeting apps, so we'll come back to that, but let's talk about something different for a little bit.
Okay.
So with the credit cards, let's have you talk about that. What do you think about the current credit cards that we're using? What are the current credit cards we're using, and how do you like them?
Okay, so the current credit cards that we use, I mean, we're only leveraging one right now, and we have a set of them to pick from, right? And each of them has different characteristics and different benefits. But like Natasha said, our MO is to keep our life easy and simple, and we don't want to have to juggle all of these variables. We don't want to have to twist and tune the knobs to get the maximal output, we're not there. We want to save our time. We want to make things easy. So the credit card that we primarily use is a Capital One card. And I don't remember what kind it is. It's
which is probably ironic because we stopped using this card intentionally last year because that card was declined one time when we went to IKEA.
Yeah, I think we even had an episode about it, and it was probably an emotional response. And I still, I'm still annoyed at that. Like, I'm still mad at them about that because I know that they're doing the best for us, and I know that, fraud does happen, and maybe this did look like fraud, but it still was a bit surprising. We were at IKEA, and we were going through the line, and I think we just had a couple of things, right? Like, we might have been spending $500.
It was a storage system. I think it was a couple $100s for a huge storage system. But our card ended up being declined. And honestly, looking back on the situation, I would prefer to be declined and in case that it really was fraud than for the charges to go through and to have to deal with that. But I mean, in the moment, it still was a shock and something that it felt like it should not have happened.
Yeah, it was actually kind of embarrassing. I don't know if anybody else, do you get this, Natasha, where you like kind of get embarrassed and you could feel the blood rushing to your face and you kind of start sweating? And I know that I probably turned red.
I think that can happen. I don't think I felt embarrassed that night because I'm like, there's no reason why this card should be declining. But, it happens. So I did. And I think part of it was you were trying to use like Google Pay to pay for it.
For one of the first
may have
times.
Been an issue with it. But yeah, I can see how you would feel.
Yeah, I started getting,
especially if people are behind you in line. You're like, wait a minute, my car was declined.
Yeah, the line was starting to back up, and I just felt really, I just felt kind of silly, and and then I had that emotional response, and I'm like, we're gonna change our credit card. We're gonna use something else.
And we did, and we started using American Express. We opened up an American Express Gold card, which I think we talked about that on a different podcast episode too. And that American Express Gold card came with a $250 yearly expense for it. And we used the American Express card. And I was turned off by American Express because of how the points work whenever you are redeeming the points.
Yeah.
Because you can earn a lot of points. You earn like 4 times for grocery stores and dining out, which are 2 of our major categories. And then I think 3 times for gas and 2 times for whatever, all these different ways to earn points. But when you go and redeem those points, they're worth more depending on how you redeem them.
Yeah.
You can redeem them for cash, you can redeem them for airline credit or for gift cards. And each way, it's a different calculation of how much money you'll get back.
Yeah. And
I just didn't really enjoy that process. I just wanted to know, okay, if I have 10,000 points, what's the dollar amount?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't want to see like, oh, it's $10,000 for cash back. Not $10,000, obviously. $100, let's say, for cash back, but it's $150 for airline credit. And it was kind of hard to figure out what those numbers really were. And so I just don't really like that.
I was about to say $10,000, Tasha. What are you spending on?
No, I mean 10,000 points is definitely not $10,000.
Yeah. So it's weird. Yeah. The points, you mentioned 10,000 and the points do show like this huge amount. And then they transfer, you convert them into actual, US dollars, and not just US dollars, but it's US dollars at some storefront or some other thing, right? Like a gift card or airline miles. And
it's like 1 cent per point,
yeah.
something like that.
So it's like you see this huge number, like 200,000. You're like, whoa, that's a whole lot, but it's actually not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, like I think I agree with you that's. I wouldn't say it's a bait and switch, but I think it's a little bit dishonest, right? Until you build that mental model to be working in that.
Yeah, I just want to know the dollar amount.
Yeah, just make it easy, right?
I hate that credit cards give you points versus just telling you the dollar amount. And I know there are some that give you just the plain dollar amount, but that's one of the reasons why I didn't like American Express. What about you? How did you feel about the American Express card?
I didn't like it, but for different reasons. I don't think that you should pay for a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to, because there's so many options to not, and those options are good. So it makes it a hard sell for me to want to pay for a credit card. And this was the first one that we had ever paid for, both of us. And, it was something that we figured we would try. And we had, a long discussion about whether we should or shouldn't. But the real reason why I don't like our American Express card is because it's always very difficult to know how much money you have spent.
Yes.
I got-
I found the app to be pretty confusing.
It's confusing to me. Yeah, I try to go and pay the bills, and I'm like, how much did we spend? How much do I owe?
It would have these weird things. I mean, I say it's weird, but it will be like pay now this amount or pay overtime this amount. And I don't know. I found it to not be straightforward
Yeah, same.
inside of that American Express app. So I did not like that either.
Same. In the same way that you're talking about the points, I was thinking the same idea with the payment. The payment webpage that we go to and actually pay in. And I'm like, I just want something transparent. Just make it easy. I don't want to have to waste my time and think about this. I just want to give you my money.
Yeah, I wouldn't know because I don't pay the bills ever. So one of the cards that I absolutely love, though, and I really enjoy their app and their interface, has been Chase.
Chase, yeah, they're solid.
And I've had a Chase card for a very long time. And I wish Chase provided just a plain and simple 2% cashback card. Then I would immediately jump on that because Chase has probably been my favorite app to use.
Yeah.
I just love the way they display the information. It's very easy.
Yeah, very easy, very straightforward, very obvious, very to the point. You have in my field, we call it information architecture, right? So it's the way that you lay out the information, and they have it readily accessible in the same way that you'd want to. You're frequently doing this operation, and they put it there, right? They put it front and center. There's something that's maybe a little bit buried. You do it once a year, and it matches. So I really appreciate the way that the Chase app and the website are. They're both actually really good for this.
I think when it comes to money, it can be very difficult to understand some of these things, and it can be easy for people to get overwhelmed by it. And I think when your application or your website is very easy for me to see, okay, this is how much I owe, or this is how much money I have, then that is the best situation for me. So
Yeah.
Chase is on the top of my list of companies that I prefer when it comes to credit cards, although we don't use a Chase credit card on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a Chase, I have a very old Chase Freedom card that we'll use from time to time if a place doesn't take a certain card and we need to use one that doesn't take MasterCard, which is our main card. Then we'll use the Chase, which is a Visa card, but I really like Chase.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have the Amazon Prime card through Chase.
Yeah.
We do not have Amazon Prime, but even with having the Amazon card attached to Amazon, you still get 3% cash back on that.
Yeah.
So instead of getting 5% cash back if we had Amazon Prime, we do get 3% if we happen to ever order anything from Amazon. We are not huge purchasers of Amazon items. Yeah. Which is probably different than your average person. We hardly ever order from there, but we do get the rewards of the extra cash back if we do, because we attach that card only for Amazon.
Right. Yeah. At some point we were, right. We did have Prime and we were subscribers, and we did buy more from Amazon, but we curtailed that. We figured we'd just go to the store and buy things immediately.
Yeah. We definitely did it more when Isaiah was a baby, and it was a difficult transition into parenthood.
Yeah.
But we changed after he got a little bit older.
Yeah.
So other credit cards, we talked about Amex. We talked about Capital One too.
Yeah.
So Capital One is the one that we primarily use now.
What's the card? You never mentioned what that Capital One card, and I couldn't remember what it is.
It's a Saver card.
Saver, yeah.
I think it's called Saver or Saver One. They have two different versions. I'm not sure which one it is that we have, but we have the free one.
Yeah.
Whichever one, not the paid one. Now, I do want to go back to, you were saying how we had American Express and it was our first paid card. I think if we would have loved American Express, I would have been okay paying for it.
Yeah, same.
And if we would have used the perks from it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the perks on there, we just ended up not using them.
Yeah.
I think you got $10 credit per month on Uber Eats, which we never use Uber Eats. We never, ever. And one of our friends had mentioned, well, you could just order for pickup through Uber Eats and then still get the credit. But I felt like that would cause me to change how I do things.
Yeah, it's another step, right? It's another thing to juggle.
Yeah, I'm not trying to complicate my life for $10.
Yeah.
No, thank you. If I used Uber Eats, then yes, I would love to take advantage of it. But it just wasn't a perk that really made sense for us.
Yeah, another thing that I thought would be cool was, doesn't American Express have those fancy airplane lounges?
I think they do.
Yeah. So in airport lounges, I said airplane, airport lounges. I thought that would be really cool for us to use. And then we've flown a total of one time and we're like, we just want to make it on time. We don't want to hang out in the airport. And then we want to get to our destination.
I wonder if the airport here has an American Express lounge. We're about to fly in October. When are we? No, November. So maybe we should walk down. We still have the Amex card. Mm-hmm. I haven't canceled it yet. So maybe we should check it out and see how it really is. Maybe it's great. I don't know.
Would that still be enough for you to consider?
Definitely not. I'm not paying $250 to get in the airport lounge. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I can just buy my own food for less than that in the airport.
Oh, is that what it's for? I don't even know what it is. I thought it was like they give you back massages and
I don't think they give you back
pet
massages.
Puppies and
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I think they have a buffet of some type of food, maybe some charcuterie boards or whatever. I don't know. I've never been in an airport lounge. Why are you asking me? Okay, so those are the credit cards that we are currently using and why or why not? We're not using them. Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about bank accounts.
Oh, yeah, bank accounts. This is also somewhat of a hot topic for us because we semi-recently changed.
Yeah, we switched bank accounts. It's probably been almost a year ago. We made a lot of changes in the last year. Mm-hmm. We have been longtime users of Ally Bank, and once the rates started going back up and we had a little bit of issue with Ally with the logging into our account at some point, we decided to switch over to SoFi, and we've been using SoFi for the past year. We still also have Ally. And what do you think about SoFi, Damien?
Oh, I like it. I like it so far. SoFi is actually the app that I use that I open the most frequently because one, you can see your money. Two, they have similar tools to what Monarch Money has. Mm-hmm. And I guess the whole entire landscape of banking and budgeting tools, they have that. You can see your net worth really easily. It is confusing because it is a little bit of information overload when you first download and open the app and start using it. It's kind of tricky to get used to it because it's there's a lot in there.
I mean, but you can also turn those things off.
You can turn them off.
I think you see more in your app when you log in because you want to see all the news.
I want to see everything.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And I turn off most of the things and I just keep open the things that are most important to me. So it could be confusing, but you can also adjust it for your own settings, mm-hmm. which is true for a lot of other apps too.
But yeah, the default experience though, when you open it does show everything and it is a little bit intimidating.
Yeah. So what do you think about SoFi as a bank? You talked about the app. What do you think about SoFi the bank?
Oh, I like it. I mean, they don't have brick and mortar stores that you can walk into, but like when was the last time you've ever walked into a bank? I can't even recall the last time I did. Yeah,
we have not had any issues with SoFi. SoFi currently has a savings rate of APY of 4.5%, mm-hmm. which is competitive compared to all of the other high yield savings accounts that are out there right now. And that's one of the reasons we switched. We wanted another high yield savings account. And I really love the vaults mechanism in SoFi where I can separate my money into different vaults and like give them a name like emergency fund or vacation or insurance, whatever it is. I really like being able to see this is how much money I've saved for each thing. They also have auto transfers to where you can automatically transfer into those vaults each month or every 2 weeks, every payday, whatever timeline you want to. And so I've enjoyed using SoFi so far. Haven't had any issues. I have not had to reach out to customer service yet, so I don't know how customer service is, but it's been good so far. Yeah,
there's a SoFi subreddit, and when people do lodge a complaint or mention a bug or something, there are customer support representatives from SoFi answering in there. So maybe it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But so SoFi, so far so good. We also have Ally Bank, and honestly, I still love Ally Bank.
Yeah.
And I think I said this in the previous episode about break up with your bank because Ally is really great. They have always had a competitive high yield savings account as well. I think so. I mean, Ally may be a couple of percentage points or tenths of a percentage point lesser than SoFi right now, maybe 4.3 versus 4.5 or something like that. But they still have a high yield savings account, and they have buckets, which is similar to the vaults. And again, you can also do that auto transfer into those buckets. And Ally has a good customer service. You can call in, get someone on the phone pretty immediately. So Ally is also nice. We also still have an Ally account that we use regularly as well.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, the SoFi versus Ally debate for us was almost a tie, man. Because for me, you know, the thing that I was really after, and I think that I was really interested in SoFi because at the time that we joined with them, their high yield savings account was significantly higher than Ally's, but it didn't last long. It was, you know, it took maybe a month or less for Ally to catch right back up pretty much. But yeah, one of the things that I like about SoFi is they're leaning more into, you know, additional stuff. Like you can invest inside of the app. You can buy crypto inside of the app. You can buy insurance inside of the app. Of course, I don't do any of those things, but I like it. You know, I like to look around and, you know, I'm kind of interested to see what they offer.
What about Ally? What do you think about them compared to SoFi?
Ally is very stable and it's very trustworthy. And, yeah, I mean, I think that sums it up. They're like very, you know, they're very solid.
Yeah.
And I would recommend both to anybody that needs an online bank.
I think the biggest drawback for SoFi is that you must have direct deposit in order to earn the high yield savings amount.
Yeah.
That is a big turnoff for me. But we still ended up going with SoFi, but it's a huge turnoff because I don't understand why they need to have that stipulation on there. I think that if they were to remove any stipulations, that would be great. I love how Ally, there is no stipulation. You can earn the high yield savings rate without depositing a certain amount or having a certain amount in there.
Yeah.
There's no stipulation. So that would be the one pro that Ally has over SoFi for me.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that until you just mentioned it. But to be honest, the fact that Ally doesn't require that is kind of one of those things that is similar to what we were talking about with the credit card, of being transparent, being honest, right? Being straightforward and easy to use, right?
Yeah. So we still like Ally, or still like SoFi. We've been using them for a year and are sticking with them. So yeah, that's that about the bank accounts. And then we also have a couple of different retirement accounts with Fidelity, with Vanguard. What's your take on Fidelity versus Vanguard?
You know, at first I thought that Fidelity versus the Fidelity versus Vanguard debate in our family was we've been longtime Vanguard users. I think over 5 years now, 6 years, 7 years, and we've gotten to a point to where we're able to navigate their site very quickly, even though sometimes it used to be confusing. We wanted to try Fidelity out because I've had a good experience. I have a 401k with my current job inside of Fidelity right now. And, you know, it's been a good experience for me. I like the tools. I like the website. It's very easy to navigate. So we started using it as a brokerage too. And I would say that I wasn't as impressed as I thought that I would be. And that experience made me want to stick with Vanguard, to be honest. And that's because we have like critical mass over there.
So I have used both Vanguard and Fidelity, and I have gotten on the phone with customer service representatives from both. And I think I've had a positive experience with both of them. With Fidelity, the person who I talked to was actually assigned to your company, I believe.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a different experience than someone would have if they just call Fidelity outright. But I don't think it is. I think Fidelity has a really great support system. So I love that about Fidelity. And Vanguard is the same. I recently opened a solo 401k actually with Vanguard and got on the phone with someone, talked to them, make sure I was doing the things correctly that I should be doing. And they were very helpful, stayed on the phone, walked me through it. If I needed their assistance, they were there the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's pretty much a toss up between Fidelity and Vanguard. If I was opening an account today, either one of them is great. There's a lot inside of each one just because these companies can do a lot when it comes to investing. And so both of them can be confusing.
Yeah,
to be
for
honest
sure.
with you. They can both be a little troublesome to navigate, especially because there's so much lingo around finances that most people are just not familiar with. I mean, why would we be?
Mhm.
But besides that, I think they're pretty much the same, in my opinion. And so, yeah, Vanguard, Fidelity, either one of them are great. They have low cost index funds, both of them that you can invest in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And if we didn't have, like, if we had started out in Fidelity and we're exploring Vanguard, I think that I would have the same opinion of Fidelity that I do with Vanguard now. You know, like, yeah, let's just stick with them. We have, you know, critical mass.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, any other tools that we use? Are you still using Mint or Personal Capital? I know that was something that you used to use a lot.
I don't use, I have Mint, but I don't use it. I don't look at it very frequently. I use it to verify net worth numbers, you know, just to see if it's roughly in the range. But
you do that in the SoFi app as well, right?
yeah, I do it. I do it everywhere. I look like, what do they say? What do they say? What do they say? And it's, to me, it's more of like when we were talking about the connection dropping with like, let's say Plaid, right? Or the middleman between the, you know, whatever account you're hooking up and the apps. Like, that's kind of what I'm after, is like, well, what does this app say? I'm just trying to gauge, you know, the quality of the data that I'm looking at. But I don't use Mint as much, but I do like Mint. I would recommend it for certain things like net worth tracking. Personal Capital I use more frequently, but only for one view, and that's asset allocation breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
So not very heavy user of it, except for one view that I can't seem to find, one particular viewpoint into, you know, our investments that I can't find anywhere else. So
yeah, I think the most important thing is finding the tools that work best for you, that gives you the information you need. I know before we had been using a spreadsheet on a monthly basis to like record expenses, bills that we were paying and all this different stuff. And we stopped doing that probably over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now.
yeah.
And I think it's just really finding something that you can work with that helps you to have a better handle on your money and understanding of where your money's going, how's it being invested, all of that good stuff. And so those are the tools that we are enjoying right now. We'll see how it turns out in the next year. But for the most part, I feel like the tools and the accounts we've been using have been pretty consistent. We did have a little bit of change in the last year, but for the most part, it's been pretty consistent for us, I would say.
Yeah, and just because we're out here talking about how we use these tools and, you know, talking about how we would recommend them, that doesn't necessarily mean that our recommendation should land with you, because you still need to put in the work to understand your finances and go through the motions to see, like, how do you work? How do you operate? And it is likely different from us, and it's likely different. It's probably unique, you know, to your situation. So I think that you need to do like we have done and, you know, recognize that there's a problem, right? Like budgeting's a problem, like tracking net worth is a problem, doing investments and having a brokerage, that's a problem, right? There's all these different sub problems, you know, under the financial umbrella, and you can do things by hand. You can do them on paper in a spreadsheet, and, you know, that'll give you the precise detail, that'll give you the precision. Sometimes you don't need that, right? Sometimes you could just use a tool and it'll make your life easier, and it'll be much more convenient, and it'll get you close enough.
Yeah. So you've got an inside look into what we use and why we use it. And now with that, you can go and find what works best for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend. Join us for the next one, and let's make green together.
Let's make